Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into this week's edition of Bull Ring Breakdown. This is the race recap portion from what's that, June 28th, I think it was. That was sponsored by BH Log Hauling and TP's Concrete. I do want to remind everybody to please like and subscribe on the YouTube page, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Woodhall Raceway on Facebook, and Woodhall Raceway 64 on TikTok. So this week with the race recap, I'm joined by Terry Pierce. Terry, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Joe?
Oh, we're doing. Um, so I guess I want to start out, but I want to thank everybody for being with us. We had an excellent crowd. It always is for the fireworks show, but I thank everybody for coming out, and I do want to give a little bit of a shout out to Terry and Nikki Brewer too, because that could have went the wrong way on Thursday night if they wanted to, with the amount of people that were coming and the stuff that they had to do to set it up and the way the weather looked. Um, So I want to give them a little bit of credit for kind of sticking with it and having the I don't know, I guess the guts to say I think this weather's going to change, and boy did it, and it was a beautiful night.
Yes, definitely did. I think there's a lot to it that goes into getting this show going for the fireworks show, and it's hard for people to understand. We met on Thursday night, sat down and talked about, are we going to do this or are we not going to do this? And instantly, I'm sure everybody's thinking on Thursday night, geez, why? Well, here's the deal. So the fire department was after us because they had to start the chicken barbecue on Thursday night. And that's a huge thing. We don't want them cooking all that chicken or getting it all ready and then not be able to sell it. Second of all, we had a lot of stuff we had to order. The porta johns that we had to have brought in, we had to order them on Thursday night. We had to order our food for the night on Thursday night. That comes in on tractor trailer for fireworks night, and the tractor trailer sets there. And if we were to cancel the races on Saturday, they come and get that trailer on Sunday. We got to do something with all that food in there. It's real hard to find a place to store all that food, throughout the week once that trailer's gone. So there's a lot that goes into it, really, as far as getting everything going. And of course, you got the fireworks company. They're trying to, iPyro. They were trying to get stuff lined up too. So we have to, we were constantly talking to them all week last week. And there's a lot that goes into it. It's a difficult decision, and the weather did not look the greatest for us on Thursday. But the way the season's been going, we said we had to try to think outside the box, make something happen, and I guess that's what we did. Right, it worked.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And the weather couldn't be better. I think that a couple Saturdays ago we had beautiful weather too, but it just was kind of so humid that you could almost couldn't breathe in the weather, and I think Saturday was about as perfect as you could get. I mean, it was nice out, beautiful out. It was people wearing, I guess, going to a race and wearing a t-shirt by the end of the night is really what I always look forward to.
yeah, definitely it was. It was nice enough to do that. Yeah, everything turned out perfect for the night. Honestly, I mean, the fireworks night is tough. We've suffered through this before, and people will remember years past nights when there was a forecast for rain and we tried to push it through and it got so foggy that you couldn't even see the fireworks.
Mhm.
And you spend tons and tons of money on these fireworks and nobody gets to enjoy them because it's so foggy. And that's, yeah, it's a tough deal, that's for sure.
Right. And I do want to give I do want to well, I guess we can wait on that. You ready to go into the heats or
Sure, absolutely.
so once again the night's action was brought to you by BH Log Hauling and TP's Concrete. So then I guess we'll go to the heats and the hometown excavation crate sportsman heats. Uh, Kenny Peoples Jr., Glenn Trowbridge, and Tim Guild won heats. Um, I'm not going to touch too much on Kenny Peoples and Tim Guild, because I'm going to say they've had their due, but Glenn Trowbridge, I believe it was his first ever heat win. I could be wrong, but if it's
I
not, it's
believe it
one of his
was.
only ones. So a big shout out to him because they're coming a long way.
They are. Both those cars have actually been looking pretty good. Him and his son, in the 13T, they both been looking really well the last couple of weeks. And yeah, it was great to see him finally get to see victory lane. It was great. He definitely deserves it. He's definitely earned it.
Yeah, it was cool to see too. I don't know if you saw this in the infield, but I think you were in the infield, I'd have to imagine for that. But after the
Yeah, I
race,
was. Yep.
after the race, you he went by the flag stand. You could see him give him one of these, and then once they got on the backstretch, Jacob came up to him and he, he'd given him congratulations. So that's cool to see.
Right,
Those
right.
are
Yep.
that's a tough deal putting together two sportsmen a week, and so it's good to see them and finally pick up a win.
Oh, it definitely is. Absolutely.
I do Southern Tier Custom late models. One heat for them. Steve LeBaron picked up the win. He I can't remember how many cars, but we ran them all in one heat. 9 cars, ran them all in
Yeah,
one
nine
heat,
car.
and Steve LeBaron picked up the win. Not exactly sure where he started. He started second, so on the outside pole. So Insinger Performance Modifieds, Ron Cartwright Jr., Brian Doolittle. It's always good to see that number 7 for my money pick up a win,
Yep.
heat race win, no matter what. But and then Ron Cartwright Jr. He kind of continues after picking up the feature win the week before.
Right. I think that was Brian Doolittle's first win of the year too this year. So that's great to see him. There's a guy that spends a lot of time working on a car. He spends a lot of hours on that car.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So then we get to the Lad Road Auto Hobby Stocks. Brandon Conklin, Joe Birdsell, no surprise there. But I do want to touch a little bit on well, Fireball Scooter Brown. Him and Dylan Phillip. Dylan Phillip was spinning out, went up the track. Scooter Brown nowhere to go, and that was some hard contact. That was quite a shot.
It was definitely it was a yeah he was coming up the track and Scooter had nowhere to go and to look at Scooter's car, the whole front end on it was just all busted. All the bars were broke off. I mean, he's got a lot of work to do. I seen today that he's is working on it. He's going to try to fix it, but he's definitely got a lot of work to do to get that car back.
Yeah, he might be the only person that's happy that we're off next weekend.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Well, I'll tell you, Dylan Phillips' car was in pretty bad shape too. When I got to it, the wheel was pushed right up in, and yeah, he had a lot of bent parts in there, and I didn't think he would ever make it back out. And he went to the pits, and they thrashed on that thing the rest of the night, and they were able to get him back out for the feature, which that's pretty impressive for the damage that he had.
Yeah, definitely. So then we got the Wicked Tees Quad C. Blake Snyder, Joe Gillespie, they both picked up the heat race wins. I mean, I hate to gloss over him too much, but I think the 18 of Snyder, he's kind of been the class of the field so far, and boy, it seems like every week almost Joe Gillespie picks up a heat race win. So
Yeah, yep, absolutely. The 18 car has been he has been pretty dominant in the class. I mean, he's had some misfortunes in the last couple of weeks, but the car has definitely been fast. He's definitely rises to the top every feature. So
definitely. So then we got into the street stocks, the Joe Wilcox Performance Automatic Street Stocks. Dan Gardner and well, making his return again for the second time this year, Glenn Reitner picked up a heat race win too. Uh, those two are always going to be right up front every time they
yeah,
run there.
yeah, it's tough to beat Glenn. That's when he's out there. It's every week that he shows up, you got to wonder where you're going to finish behind him because he's definitely top of the field.
Yeah, I think just about every street stock driver that I saw anyway that did their race recap on Facebook put um congratulations to Glenn Reitner and coming in and showing us all how it's done once again. Giving
Yep.
us setting a session of class in for us. So,
Right.
he's tough to beat.
Yes.
Um so then we ran the Warrior feature. This is gonna be a little screwed up, so I'm trying to remember exactly. The Warrior feature. That was uh who led most of that
Caden
race? Bella
Thomas.
Morseman. Bella Morseman led most of that race, and then the caution came out on the last lap, and then Caden Thomas was able to get by on a last lap pass. He picks up his what is that, fourth feature in a row? So I mean, we said it last week too. The way that the young man started, that's very impressive.
Yep, it is. He's getting it figured out. He's showing some good patience coming up through, and yeah, you're going to see him win a lot more races.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I think Courtney Thomas led some laps too, so I don't really want to forget about her either because and
Right.
then I think well, Colson DeCamp, he led laps at the beginning too, and then I don't really know exactly what happened there, but I know that our flagger John Stewart said that whenever he turned, something with the rack and pinion was all broke, so he had to
Oh,
He had to retire. And I do want to mention too, Caden Thomas did win that with a well, what we were told was a hole in the radiator. So that, you know,
Oh yes, yes, I did hear that.
I
Yes,
forgot all about that.
yep, yep. I,
And
I can't remember what the temperatures were, but I know the car was overheating at the end.
yeah. So in a
Yeah.
little bit of behind the scenes, I've got a radio for, so I could hear the flaggers and what, they're deciding just so I can make the or let everybody know. And they said on there, um, he's got a hole in the radiator, and I don't remember who it was that said it, but something about how he might want to go to the pits or tell him and let him make that decision. And I remember sitting there thinking, there's no way Caden Thomas is going to the pit area for that. I say, the way that he's been rolling, he's probably not going to let the streak end like that. So, and he didn't, and it
Right.
worked out for him. So Andy's going to have a little bit of work to do this week, but he's got two
Yep.
weeks to get it done. So I guess that's okay.
I think they must have been able to fix it because he brought it. Didn't he bring it back down for intermission? So didn't he?
I think it was pushed.
Oh, I thought because I
I,
remember he said he needed to be pushed down, but then I think he drove it anyway.
okay, well, I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you could be right. I can't remember. So then we went in the sportsman. Brandon Morseman, he started on the pole and he led the entire race. Uh, caution on lap two, caution on lap 10. And actually, before we get into, I want to give a shout out to all the drivers. What a fantastic job! We had to keep the show moving, and I don't know if there was more than two or three yellows in every class. Every driver did an excellent job.
They
So
did absolutely. We sat in the drivers meeting, and I told them all, I'm like, listen, guys, it's going to be a long night with the fireworks here. We're going to be here. Let's not be here till morning. Let's use our heads. Let's try to see if we can keep these cautions to a minimum tonight and race clean and have fun. And I'll tell you what, they did. Every single class was great on Saturday night. We could not thank these drivers enough for what they did on Saturday night.
yeah, and I do want to mention too that a shout out to the sportsman guys because we did have to put some water on the track, and I don't know
Yep.
what it would have done without it. So we kind of had them come out and help us run in that water just because with the fireworks, well, I think it was the best option that we could do because with the without really having a true intermission and just be able to get some water on the track just so it wasn't such a dust bowl with the sunlight out and everything.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about it there, and we trust me, we don't want to bring the water truck out and water it either. We don't want to delay. We were trying to push the race through, but there was a potential of the track coming apart a little bit too, besides all the dust, and we just felt like we had no choice, but we had to do it. So
Right.
unfortunately, sometimes that's the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so like I said, cautions on lap two and lap 10 for the sportsman. Brandon Morseman led the entire way. He'd end up picking up the feature win. And then in victory lane, he was hurting. So with about 5 laps to go, the power steering line blew in that car, and it just covered his leg. I mean, just covered. You could see the how wet it was just from sitting there, and he said that he was trying to deal with that and race with no power steering, and he had the best Woodhull's got to offer. Kenny Peoples Jr. right behind him. We started 12th, ended up finishing second, and he did a great job holding them off. So,
Yes, he did. I actually talked to him today. I called him and talked to him earlier today, and he said his legs are still a little sore today. He did get his legs got burned a little bit, but he said, he's very thankful that he had his driver's suit because that took the blunt of it. He said his driver's suit was actually just was soaked in power steering fluid. So
mhm.
that although did get burnt, it could have been a lot worse. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that I couldn't imagine trying to deal with that. He's not a guy that he's got a couple feature wins, but he's not a guy that wins regularly by any basis. So I couldn't imagine what's going through his head as he's kind of running away with that feature, and then with 5 to go, the power steering line blows all over him, and you're trying not to worry about the pain in your leg, and you're trying to run the next 5 laps with no power steering, and I couldn't imagine. I talked to him today as well. I didn't ask him how he was doing. I guess I'm a little bit of a jerk that way, but so I guess he's going to be on my podcast this week. So I'm going to ask him about how, what he was thinking then. So if you want to tune in on
Right.
Wednesday, there's a little plug. So like I said, Kenny Peoples Jr. he finished second. Quentin Buchanan third, and fourth was Tim Guild, fifth was Braylon Lawson. Just kind of going through here. Tony Harris, he showed up with his Sportsman. He's been running the street stock, and he showed up with his Sportsman here tonight. So it's nice to have him, and nice to have Kevin DeCamp with us as well. So a couple of guys that
Yep.
not don't make the weekly tow. So nice to have
Right.
them.
Yeah, it was
Caden
very,
Lawson as
very nice
well.
to see them. Yep.
Oh, so let's see here. Then we go to the Southern Tier Customs Rush Crate late models. Um, this this race was fantastic, I'd say. There's
Oh,
there's a caution on lap three. Brett Marlatt, he started on the outside pole, and he was the guy to beat, been the guy to beat all year. But this race was just awesome. Austin Allen, he started fifth. He ended up getting up to second, and he was coming.
oh boy. I tell you, if you weren't a true late model race fan, by the end of that race, there was something wrong because Austin Allen put on one heck of a show for the fans. That's for sure.
Hmm.
I said, Brett, I talked to Brett a little bit, Victory Lane. And Brett was like, well, I didn't know he was back there. And all of a sudden, then he was there. And I said, well, don't worry, because with 2 laps to go, he was half a track behind you. That's how quick he caught him. I mean, that car was hooked up on the high side.
Yeah, definitely. That car was very fast, and I think I kind of wondered if he could have got around Waters or Steve LeBaron a little bit quicker, if he would what he could have done with the 99 because I think he definitely had the car to beat, but it's a lot harder to pass Brett than it is to catch up to the back end of him.
Oh, that's for sure. It definitely is. But Austin's been working hard on that car. They've been working on it like crazy, and it showed that that car was fast. And I believe, matter of fact, he took off the very next night and he won $1,000 to win show with it. So
Yes, he did.
yeah, he's been
Yeah.
running good.
Yeah, so that's a really good weekend for him. But so Brett Marlatt, he picks up the feature win. Austin Allen, he'd have to settle for second. Steve LeBaron would be third. John Waters fourth. Rich McNeil, your top five. I guess we'll just good to see John Waters back. I know he's pretty sporadic on what he picks and chooses he wants to run. So,
Yeah,
nice to see him back.
he has a very very heavy work schedule, and which takes him out of town a lot, quite a ways out of town. So yeah, and when he goes to work, it might be 3 months at a time. So yeah, it's tough for him anymore. That's for sure. It's
Right.
always great to see him stop in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then we go with the Insinger Performance Modifieds, next feature out. And I want to remind everybody this was before it got dark. I mean we were cruising
Yep.
right along for the night. So AJ Petrobowski Jr. he showed back up. He's gonna run weekly at Thunder Mountain, but they had the week off, so he decided to come here. He'd been telling me for a few weeks now that he really wanted to come back, and whether it's just lip service or not, he tells me it's his favorite track. So you know, for whatever that's worth. Him and
Right.
him and Dayton Brewer, they started in the front row, and I would say that AJ was the class of the field, but I kind of wonder what might have happened if Carter Crooker started a little bit better than 11th, because for the second week in a row, that number 32 was on a rail coming from the back of the feet, or well, the back of the redraw spots to finish in the top two.
That's for sure. That car, I tell you, I don't think there was a fan in the stands that wasn't cheering him on the last couple laps. That car, again, just about every race we had the other night on Saturday was a close finish. And yeah, I would have loved to seen these guys start side by side because they would have been something to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And they did a great job. There was only one caution on lap 18, and
Yeah,
I think Carter Crooker might have been in fourth or fifth at that point. So, kind of tough for him to try to make up that ground. And AJ, whenever he comes here, he's one to beat. He's really fast, so it's tough to start that far back when he's on the pole and try to keep up with him.
yeah, it is. It definitely is. There's another team right there that spends a lot of time on that car every week, getting it dialed in, tearing it down, and putting it back together, and it shows. It shows when it comes race day when he pulls in, and you know that he's going to be a guy to beat. And when he draws the pole, I knew this is going to be it's going to be a heck of a show, but it's going to be tough for anybody to get by him.
Absolutely. So AJ Petrobowski. Jr. picked up his first win in his first appearance in 2025. Carter Crooker was second, coming from 11th. Dayton Brewer was third. Another good, really good run for Dayton Brewer. I believe that might be three straight podiums for him.
Yeah.
Brady Foltz finished fourth, and Donnie Lawson, he had a good drive too, from fifth to 13th. So,
Yep.
and then I
Yeah, he
don't.
did. He was consistently just consistent coming up through the pack. He didn't tear it up. He kept passing cars and he just kept moving forward. And again, Dayton Brewer, right there's a car that you're going to see in victory lane before long. Hey,
Oh,
that he's been knocking on the door for the last couple of weeks. Car's been fast.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think it'll be very long before that car's in victory lane. I think he maybe a little bit of bad luck, but just kind of where then that 72 starts on the pole. That's a tough, that's just tough it's going to be hard to pass that car. So,
Yep.
but, so then we moved on to the Lad Road Auto Hobby Stocks. This was this one I think had a few more yellows than the rest, but it was nothing too bad. Um, Brandon Conklin started second, and he'd end up leading the entire thing. Led all 20 laps. I think Joe Birdsell had a little bit for him, but then I read on Facebook that his fan shroud broke, something along
Yeah.
those
Yep.
lines. And then
Yep.
after
So
that, there was nothing he could do.
yeah. So I was standing on the infield, and again, he was catching Brandon. He was coming, and I'm thinking to myself that this is going to be a fight to the finish. And then I'm not sure exactly what broke on his car, but the next thing you know, we could hear the fan knocking against the shroud as he was going around the track. And I'm like, oh boy, he better hope that thing holds together. And it got louder and louder and louder, and he just couldn't do it. But had that not been for that, it would have been an interesting show with them two too at the end. I'm sure.
Yeah, it always is. So they
Yep.
that's one of those classes that if we there's a lot of nights where we kind of tend to run them later in the evening, but if you ever want to stay, that race is usually some of the best racing that Woodhull's got.
It is. It is. And again, I say this every week, and I'll say it again this week. It's the class at Woodhull that no matter who wins the race, there's second, third, and fourth place right behind them would just soon jump out of their car and congratulate them. They're all great friends in that class, and that makes for some fun racing. That's for sure.
Right. So Brandon Conklin, he picked up what is this, number 4 on the year for him? Let me
Could have been.
no, number 3 for him. So Brandon Conklin, he
Okay.
picks up win number 3. Joe Birdsell second, Dylan Phillip third, Cody Byler fourth. Good strong run for him after he dumped Scott Brown. And fifth was Reese Hackett. Sorry, I
Don't
had
worry.
to.
Yeah, no, no, and I caught him right after the race too, and I told him about it. And like you really got to work on your patience. You got to show patience out there. That's how you're going to get to the front is by showing patience. And he could back out in the feature, and I'll tell you what, the kid had all the patience in the world in that feature. He showed it.
Yeah,
So
he did an excellent job. I don't
yeah,
want to take anything away from him, but I just
yeah.
had to get that in there
Oh yeah, no,
for those of
absolutely.
you that don't know. Cody's he's a young kid, and he works for Terry, and he does a lot of work on that car out of the Southern Tier Custom Shop. So I
Yeah, he does.
great run for him, top 5, best run of the year. I don't ever remember in the feature. There's been throughout the year, there's been a couple of at least once per feature, it seems like, where there was something where he'd kind of spin out or at least get loose by himself. And I think this
Yeah.
week was the first week where that I can remember where he went all 20 laps and he kept it all together and he was running right up front. So that's a very good run for
Yeah.
him.
I tell you, I'd like it. It's kind of funny because yes, Cody started working for me probably I don't know last year, and he had no interest in racing at all, none. He's a high school kid, just got his driver's license. That was about it. He works for me and he plays video games. Well, he started wrapping race cars, and I don't know, it got to be the middle of winter time and we'd wrapped quite a few cars. And he said to me one day, he said, you know what? I think I might have to try this racing. It does look kind of fun. He goes, I may have to get one of these. So we looked around, we found a car, we got it, got a motor for him, got it put in it. And his dad's been up here working on it. And we got quite a few hours getting it all set up. And I think this was his fourth race out. And he's done very good for a kid that's never raced. He's never even drove standard before until now. So yeah, it's all new to him, but he's catching on quick and he's doing well with it.
Right. And then Reese Hackett, like I said, rounds out the top five. Just wanted to give a little shout out to him because last week I believe he blew up his motor in his car, and I think Joe Birdsell was working all week to get something back together so he could drive it. So it's a good
Yep, he
good
did.
finish for the way the week started.
Yep.
And I'll mention Bill Williams, out of the Williams camp, Jim Williams Memorial. I forgot to mention that on the jump, but so nice to see another Williams in. He's he's an older guy. He's not going to run every week, but it's nice to see him when he is. I know he picked up a win in a vintage car a few, I think last year. So nice to see
Yeah.
him with
No,
it.
that's actually you're actually thinking it's Brent Williams.
No, they both did. Bill drove, Bill drove in a different class.
Oh, he
And
drove
Brett,
the 42 car, right?
yeah, you mean
No.
last weekend? This past weekend?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Bill drove the 42, but
No, Brent drove the 42. Brent drove the 42 and Steve drove the 00.
oh, see, because my race pass said that Bill was in the 42.
Yeah,
So
because somebody said that
I
on.
was saying Bill Williams all night.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't. They said it over the radio and they had me go out and check, and I went out and checked, and it was Brent in the car. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
well,
Yes, it
thanks for
was.
relaying that information to the announcers.
Better now than yeah, next week, right?
Yeah. Well, either way, Brent Williams, I think he runs, I don't know if he still has it, but I know he ran a lot of vintage races last year. So
Yes, he does.
I'd have to imagine we'll see him back when the vintage are here in a few
Yep.
weeks, I believe.
Yeah, he just happened to have this week off with the car. He didn't have a race this weekend with the vintage, and that's why he was at Woodhall.
Right. So then we had what, four features done, and then we killed the lights.
We did. We
We
did.
killed the lights, and so we're gonna give a shout out here to iPyro. I believe they're out of Westfield, Pennsylvania. They had a couple of curveballs thrown at them, a couple of things that didn't work out the way they were hoping, and they just kind of rolled with it, delivered an excellent show. I think the biggest applause of the evening was right before the fireworks got started. They got on there and said, "Well, you guys aren't going to believe this. Woodhull Volunteer Fire Department just got a call." So the fire truck had to make its way off of the racetrack, and I think that was the biggest ovation all night.
Yep.
And I guess while I mentioned them, did you get yourself a chicken barbecue? Because I had one and it was excellent.
Oh, I did. I was one of the, I got to be honest with you, Joe. I was one of the first ones there to get mine.
Yeah, so was I. So was I.
As soon as they were unloaded out of the truck, I was there with my money. Couldn't
Yep,
wait to get it, and it was an excellent chicken dinner.
it was.
And
It was.
it was nice that they were there. They were able to bring their brand new tanker that they just got, and show it off a little bit for the fans. Which is an absolute beautiful tanker. I don't know if you've seen it down there on the infield. It's got a cool scene down the side of it. Very nice looking truck.
Yep, good deal there. So, yeah, then we killed the lights. iPyro delivered a great show. They always do a fantastic job. I'd have to imagine they'll be back next year. Just, just a hunch.
Oh yeah, yep,
And then we got the lights back on. I believe there was a brief. I don't know if you'd really call it an intermission, but something like that goes on, and a lot of people are, heading for the turnstiles after the fireworks, especially with the amount of features that we ran already. So I think
right,
we were letting iPyro get a little bit of time to get off the racetrack.
yeah,
They had to do that safely. They had some things that didn't go off, I believe. So they're trying to do
yep.
everything safely, and it allowed the fans to kind of make their way to the exit if they chose to do so without bothering anybody else.
With the racing, Joe, I got to be honest with you. With the racing that went on before the fireworks show, I can't believe one person left. I can't believe that every single person didn't stay there in their seat after the show that they got before the fireworks. That was an awesome night of racing all the way around. I mean,
Well, Terry,
every class,
I'm not gonna lie to you. As a fan that came to Woodhull before I got this job every week, and I was there every week. I had reserved seats with my dad. I sat with him every week. Um,
right?
I can't believe the amount of people that just end up coming for the fireworks. But
Yeah, no, there is. There is. Unfortunately, I mean, no, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but you're right, there is. But I hope that, like I said, I said to you before, with the amount of good racing that was, I hope we've made some new fans on Saturday night because, you had to love what you seen out there on that track.
oh yeah, for sure. It was incredible. Even even the races where AJ Petrobowski, he started on the pole, but you had
Yep.
Carter Crooker drive from 11th to second. Austin Allen put on a show. It just it was, and it's that's the kind of thing that once you get fans there, whether they're there just to see the fireworks or not, and then these drivers deliver a show like that they delivered, and I'd have to imagine that you're going to pick up some more fans throughout the year that say, "Hey, that was a lot of fun. Let's go spend a Saturday down there again." Just my thought on it, but
Yeah, definitely. I mean, why wouldn't you? It was $15 to get in. Where could you go for $15 and see that kind of entertainment? And no matter where, no matter what track you go to, dirt racing in our area around here is one of the cheapest the cheapest things of entertainment around. And if you watch a couple of them, it doesn't take long to get hooked onto it. The sport,
yeah, and
that's for sure.
yeah, I've been going to them all my life, so I don't know how people do anything different in the summers.
I hear you. Same here.
But I know there's a lot of people that would disagree with that, but I
Yeah,
more power to them, I guess. So
right.
the next feature out was the Wicked Tees Quad C, and this is the point of the night where I think I stopped writing stuff down because the racing was good and everybody just kind of did their job. But Blake Snyder, he started on the pole. He picked up another feature win. And I asked him in Victory Lane. I'm guessing he was a little happier to talk about it now after he won, but I asked him in Victory Lane if after last week, if he kind of thought this place might have owed him one. And he said, well, I was kind of starting to think that way, and it's nice to get back here. So it's nice to see him win. If you didn't work there last week or didn't listen, he ended up was leading most of the race. Good battle with Chris Woodard, and ended up getting taken by a lap car. So it's nice to see him kind of get that one back, I'd say.
Yeah, it was for sure.
Wesley Hoteling, he started second, finished second. Nate Freeland finished third. That's a good run for Nate Freeland because that's a guy who seems to have the fastest car on the racetrack if his gas pedal works.
Yep.
But there's a lot of times where he hits the gas pedal and that thing doesn't work.
Yeah.
Um, I, I don't know how to say it. I'm trying to be nice, but you know. And that's
Yeah.
something they've been working on that thing for a couple years. They've been taking that thing since last year. He's had that issue, and he's taken it to just about every Cobalt guy I think that they can think of, and trying to figure out exactly what's wrong with it and why it keeps happening. But so nice to see
Right.
him get a good start after or a good finish after last week.
Yep.
Danielle Morseman, she finished fourth, just another almost the model of consistency she is. And then Kaylee Morseman finished fifth. That is her first ever consecutive top fives.
Yep.
And
Good
I
for
think
her.
there's going to be a lot more to come. Just I
So
don't know.
what you're telling me is again, for the second week in a row, there's been two females in the top five.
Yeah,
That tells me,
I'd like to know how often that's happened to Woodhall. That's got to be one of the
yeah,
first. Boy, I
yeah,
never
yeah.
thought about it that way.
I think the
Hmm.
guys better start picking the pace up in the back because these
I'd
girls seem to be
say,
showing them up.
yeah. I want. Oh, and I do want to mention too that Logan. Did you see that '99 Logan Bostwick?
Yeah, I think so.
So I came up to I went down there for Victory Lane, and I came back up, and oh man, I'm gonna kick myself for not remembering her name. It's Teddy's mom, Teddy Morseman's mom. Um,
Oh, Lori, isn't
or
it
yeah.
Lori? Yeah.
So she calls me over, and I said, "Hey, what's up?" She goes, "You know that '99?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "That's his first time ever in a race car, ever.
Uh,
Never hopped in a go-kart, nothing." I guess
yep.
from what I understood, they were talking that day, and they said that they had a race car that if he wanted to drive it, and he said, I don't know. Then I guess they kind of talked him into it, and he drove it, and he didn't spin out, which I said is an achievement all of its own because I would spin out,
It is. Yep.
you know, so that's nice to see. Maybe it'll get him hooked. I told his dad up there that he's gonna have to buy one now because I'm sure he's hooked now.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure it should be.
All right. So then we had the Joe Wilcox Performance Automatic Street Stocks, and I don't know. Teddy Morseman, he led at the beginning of this thing, and he tried everything he could to hold off Glenn Reitner, but he only lasted for so long, and then Glenn was able to get by him, and I think it was on a restart too, and I think I remember saying in the announcer's booth that I don't know if Teddy wanted to see that yellow flag because when you get a restart and you get allow that number 15 car to start next to you, that's that as good as Teddy is, and I know Teddy would never back down from anybody, but you can't. I would assume that you're kind of thinking, oh boy, why'd it
Yep.
have to come out? Or why couldn't
I'm
he be in
sure.
third when it came out?
Yep.
So Glenn Reitner, he picks up his second win in two trips. Teddy Morseman was second. And that's a good run for Teddy Morseman because last week he got taken out of no fault of his own.
Yep.
You know, uh, Mick Seeley got
He
in.
ended up winning the he ended up winning the Hard Luck of the Week award
Yeah, and
because of last week. Yeah.
I don't think I gave him anything for that. So, we're gonna have to remember that.
Yeah,
So, Teddy, if you listen,
yeah, I have it.
okay, if you're
Yeah.
listening, Teddy, and we forget, you remind us when you get there in 2 weeks.
That's right.
Um,
Yep.
Dan Gardner third, Clayton McLean fourth, and Luke Boom. Luke Boom fifth from starting in 10th. So that's a good run for Luke Boom, as
It was. Yep.
he took a few weeks off too. So and this
Yep.
was what time? Do you remember what time this final checkered flag dropped? It had to have been about
11
11 o'clock,
15.
11:15.
11:15. Yep. That was when Victory Lane was over with. It was 11:15. Yep.
So you showed up to the Woodhall Raceway, watched what do we got here? Seven classes.
Seven classes. Yep.
Seven classes and a fireworks show, and you were home, well, depending on how close, probably around midnight.
The
That's
largest fireworks show in Steuben County, and you were still home before midnight.
right. So,
Yep.
and the other thing is I didn't hear of too many accidents in the parking lot either. So I
No,
guess
no,
nobody was running by everybody.
right.
I will have to say that.
Overall, it turned out to be a great night. It really did. We didn't have, no real issues at the stands or in the pits. I mean, it was good night in racing, and it's always tough because you have so many people in the stands, and they they're jammed in there, and you're sitting beside a guy who might like your favorite driver, maybe he doesn't, and you're stuck there for the night, and sometimes it can be tough, but it all went really well. It went very
Yeah.
good.
And this is what I would say with that is just I don't know, try to be a little courteous of the people around you. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that tempers seem to flare, and everybody's got the people they want to win, but let's just be a little courteous of the people around us, especially on a night like fireworks night where we got a lot of small kids, and
Yes.
if if you're a true fan of racing, the thing that you should want more than anything is these young kids wanting to come back to the racetrack. And I can
Right.
tell you right now that if you're up in the stands and you're dropping F-bombs and you're swearing around them, the parents might not want to bring them back. And
Right.
that should be the last thing um, that you want to have happened as a race fan because, um, you know, a lot of
I,
drivers and a lot of fans are getting up there in years, and we need people to, pick up the slack.
right. Absolutely. And I almost forgot about this, Joe. I even you too, both of us actually made a new friend on Saturday night. I beat
Sailor,
myself up. Huh?
Sailor.
Yes, absolutely. He got to spend some time in the booth. His mom and dad got lost, and they we couldn't find him. And yep, so he got to come in the announcer's tower for a little while with us. And yeah, yeah, I think he had a great time in there.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing it kind of took his mind off of what was going on. So, and
It did definitely.
that's what we were aiming for at the time.
That's right. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I won't lie to you. I kind of forgot that. I didn't put that on my rundown, but yeah, that was a lot of fun.
it was absolutely. Yep, yep.
Uh, well, Terry, you got anything else on that this past Saturday, or should we hop in
Nope.
and look at some points?
We can hop in and look at some points if you'd like.
Well, I'm gonna start right at the top here. So, Insinger Performance Modifieds, Terry. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that most of these are correct. Um, we have
Yes, I
had
believe
some issues with my race pass. I like to blame the website, but it is what it is.
you're
So,
right. Yep.
so if you listen and it's wrong, get a hold of Terry Pierce. He'd be happy to accommodate any issue that you have.
I, I do know. I want to say I do know the quad C points are could be a little messed up. I'm working on that. I'm
Right.
not sure if they're fixed yet or not, but
Yeah, I'm aware of
I'm
that. I'll
looking.
just add that in when we get down there and see if he slots into the top five. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he does. I hear he's really close. So
Okay, so Carter Crooker, he's the Insinger Performance Modified, and that's a pretty good run, for a first year team. He ran the modifieds last year for Herbie Wright, but this is the first time out of his own camp that he's got a modified and a 10-point lead at the halfway, over the halfway point. As hard as that is to believe, that's a good run so far this year for
yep.
Carter Crooker. Brady Foltz is second, last year's champion. And that's in the Herbie Wright own machine. Dayton Brewers third, Aiden Grover fourth, Stacy Jackson is fifth. And I do not believe we have any Rookie of the Year contenders there, but I could be
Brian
mistaken.
Brian Doolittle is also tied for fifth too. So
Oh yeah, look at that. Yep. Oh yeah, we have it tied for second. Well, Greg Crooker right now would be your current leader of Rookie of the Year contender if you're following along with that sort of thing. I'm not sure
yeah,
exactly how that works out. We're gonna have to do all the math later and see what
yeah. I've actually been working on that in the last week. There's actually yeah, we don't have all rookie contenders labeled yet. So I'm working on that. We're trying to figure out who are the rookies and who aren't eligible to be rookies. I'm hoping here in another couple of weeks I'll have that all straightened out.
right. Well, then you go to the Hometown Excavation Crate Sportsman. Kenny Peoples Jr. is your leader. Tim Guild is second. Brandon Morseman, he climbs into third after picking up the win this past weekend. Clinton Buchanan fourth, and Glenn Trowbridge is fifth. So I'd say I'd say that's just a nice move up the standings for Brandon Morseman, and then everything else is kind of just staying where it's at. And I'll tell you right now, Terry, this has Braylon Lawson listed as a rookie. So unless we're gonna have the first ever back-to-back Rookie of the Year, I don't think that's gonna stick.
Right. Yeah. That's no, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's yeah, we have some work to do to get these figured out.
Right.
I don't, and actually my race pass that I'm looking at right here doesn't list him as a rookie, so
Really.
I'm not sure.
Hmm.
I guess I'll write that note down and I will definitely check on that.
Are you on the racetracks one or yours?
No, I'm on the racetracks one.
See, I'm on yours, so maybe that's the difference there. I don't know. But either way, I guess it doesn't really matter. We know you're not a rookie, Braylon, so you're not fooling us. Uh, Southern Tier Customs Rush Crate Late Models. Brett Marlatt is your point leader, 33 points over Rich McNeil, 34 points over Steve LeBaron. Marshall O'Brien is fourth, Joe Layfield fifth. Anything there that
You got Austin Allen creeping up the list for a guy that's not there every week. He's sitting seventh in the points. I mean, that just goes to show that when he does, he is available to get there and does show up. That yeah, he's always a threat every time he comes, right?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. I think there was one weekend where they didn't, but I think just about every time there's not a rush race, he's there. And
Yeah.
and I won't lie to you, Austin, I've known him since I grew up. He always told us he was going to own a late model, and we all thought he was full of crap. And look at him now, and I'd say he's probably one of the best young late model drivers in New York State, for my money anyway.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Um,
He's doing
Brian
very well.
Knowles,
Matter of fact, I just seen his schedule that he's going to be gone all this week. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week he's running. So
yeah,
West Virginia and Ohio.
mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that he's one that he's really committed to it. If and that's kind of what you have to be to run the schedule that he puts together. Because, like you said, he
Yeah.
he ran Woodhall Saturday, and then where he ran Bradford Sunday was that, and picked up a
Yeah. Yeah.
thousand
Yeah.
dollar win there. And that's if you're gonna do 2 nights a week, you kind of need a lot of you need everything to stay together, and you need talent to do that, and you got to have the I guess drive to do it because that's a lot of
Oh,
work.
you need a lot of energy to it. Have you ever been to Bradford Speedway, Joe?
New. That's one of the few
It's
I've never made it to.
it's a very small track, very very small flat track. Well, I mean there is a little bit of banking, but for the most part, you get a workout with a late model getting around that place.
Yeah. Lad Road Auto Hobby Stocks. Now, did these get updated, do you know, Terry?
Yes, they
Okay,
should
so
be. Yes,
Brandon Conklin has a 3 point lead over Dylan Phillip because I know
yes.
last week that Brandon Conklin had a few too many points, I think was what we.
Yep, and I fixed that, and ended up he was like 4 points behind Dylan going in. It was either 3 or 4 points behind Dylan going into this past Saturday night.
Right.
So
So yeah, Brandon Conklin, your point leader, he's looking to defend that. Dylan Phillip is not gonna. That is not going to be an easy battle. That might end up being the closest all year between those two because they're gonna battle all summer. Um, Scott Brown, he's in third, Joe Birdsell fourth, and Mike Palmer fifth. So it's a
I don't
nice.
know if you noticed that, Joe. Look at look at Joe Birdsall sitting in fourth place, 51 points out for a guy that started the year out with three DNFs, I believe, right in a row, first three
Mhm.
races. Um, Brandon Conklin and Dylan Phillips might want to keep an eye open for him.
Yeah, they will. Well, I'll tell you another thing too. I can't let you go away with this, but Mike Palmer is tied with Joe Birdsell in points. So, they are
Oh yeah,
dead even coming into this weekend, and Mike Palmer will be happy I pointed that out.
yeah, absolutely, yep, yep.
But I will say that Mike Palmer got beat by his boy this week. So last
Uh-oh.
week he told me that I had to tell everybody that he finished ahead of them all. Well, this week he
Yep.
finished behind them all. So Joe Wilcox Performance Automatic Street Stocks. Dan Gardner currently sits atop that. Clayton McLean, Teddy Morseman tied for second and third. Bradley Morseman's fourth, and Dale Hoteling is fifth. Wow, that's going to be a battle too. I have to imagine at this point Dan Gardner's going to run all year. I,
Yes,
it, it
I
it
believe
wouldn't
so.
it wouldn't surprise me very much if Dan Gardner took a week off, but you never know. I guess at this point with how he's running into points, I would be a little bit surprised, but
Yep,
I know he's got a lot going on.
yep.
And I guess now that I'm looking, I do want to give a little bit of a shout out Bradley Morseman, Marshall O'Brien. They graduated high school on Friday and still made it to the races on Saturday. Just
Right, yep.
so congratulations to them. Neat little deal. So
I want to say that I know they both graduated. I was invited to Marshall's graduation party yesterday, and I forgot all about it. So I'm going to go on the whole thing that I didn't know graduation has happened yet. I'm going to stick with that so it gets me out of trouble.
oh, like the fireworks. Yeah,
Yes,
the fireworks. Yeah. In case anybody didn't know, we did have fireworks this past weekend.
yes.
Uh, Wicked Tees Quad C, Blake Snyder, current point leader. Wesley Hoteling 20 points behind. Nate Freeland's in third, 31 points behind. Danielle Morseman, 51 points behind in fourth, and Kaylee Morseman, 68 points in back in fifth. And well, rumors had it for a little while Wesley's waiting on his big smoke, so we'll see if he gets that back, if he can kind of, because I don't think he'll mind me saying this, but he's been a little off the mark compared to what we're used to. So,
Yes, he definitely has. But I want to go back to this Kaylee Morseman at fifth again. Okay, this girl is just really impressing me week after week after week. She's putting it together for a
mhm.
young girl. It's her first year in the adult class, I believe. Right? But she might
Yes,
have ran a couple races last year in it.
she ran
Um,
one,
one, okay.
mhm.
Really,
And that
she's
was a
showing a
top
lot of
five.
patience. Yeah, but she's showing a lot of patience and a lot of talent in that car right now. Them guys up front, they better be watching for her.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of wonder if the points stay the way they are right now. Do you think this would be the first time we've ever had a two women finish inside the top five in the adult division?
Yeah, I don't know on that. I guess I'm not 100% sure.
It's got to be close because I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I know Isabel was the first one to ever win, and she never had another sportsman run with her. And I think Danielle's pretty
I
much,
don't Wait a second. I don't Yeah, that's something we would have to check. I don't think Isabel wasn't the first woman to ever win.
no, a point championship.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. I see what you're saying there. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. I guess that's something we'd have to look into.
Yeah, we'd have to, um, you know, tap into the Jerry Simons or Scott Drake Rolodex for that one. That's a little bit before my time.
Right, mine too. Yep, yep.
So then the Wicked T Warriors, Courtney Thomas is up front in the points. Caden Thomas 11 points back. Bella Morseman is 16 points back. And they're, they've been the three that have been there all year. I
Yep,
think
they
I
have.
think for the most part, everybody else has only been to a race or two on this list. So,
Right. Yep.
um,
And also, if you want, you could do the IMCA
yeah,
points because
I
I
just,
did get those fixed this
yeah,
week.
I just poked down here to see if that thing was fixed, and it is. So I guess we can touch on that. And boy, wow! I'm gonna say what a close group of guys they got here. Holy
Yeah.
smokes! Keith Lamphere, he's your point leader. He's 2 for 2 on feature wins. He's only got a 2 point lead.
Yes.
Jacob
Yeah, absolutely.
Jacob Ingham is 2 points back. Jacob McConnell's in third. He's only 4 points back. And then Tyler Belcher and James Lamphere, they're tied for fourth and fifth, and both of them are only 9 points back. So that's,
Yep.
I mean, that is,
When who said the IMCA's couldn't make it at Woodhull? Look at that point battle. 9 points difference in the top five. That's incredible.
yeah,
Halfway through the year.
and you know what? They bring cars every week. They put on a good show, and
They do.
and I've always liked them. I know that I hear some people talk some trash about the IMCA's, but I've always liked them
Well,
whenever.
yeah, and honestly, they did have some problems in their last feature, but I like to cut these guys a little slack because let's remember these guys aren't guys that grew up racing at Woodhall. This is
Right.
all Woodhall is new to these guys, so a lot of them don't have a lot of track time at Woodhall, and yeah, so I have to cut them a little bit of slack on that,
For
and
sure.
give them some time to get used to the place. But I think the racing's only going to get better with them, and it's only going to get more competitive, and if this class sticks around, I bet you're going to see some of the locals around here. They're going to start joining this class slowly. You watch.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
kind of wonder if I'm not exactly sure what the plan would be with them. I don't know past this year exactly what we got planned for them, but I with the car count that they bring, I can't imagine, that we wouldn't want to have them back, but I guess you never know.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure really on the plans. I know we've talked about it several times. We've talked about let's let it play out and see how the season goes. But yeah, I don't think there's anything set in stone yet as to
Right.
what their future is going to hold at Woodhull.
Right. So yeah, that was last week brought to you by BH Log Hauling TP's Concrete. So that kind of sets us up with the points. We're past the halfway point, like I said, as hard as that is to believe. We got what, 6 races in?
Yeah.
That's a shame, but
Yep.
I guess Mother Nature's undefeated. Um, I guess we could, how do you think it'd go if we told all these drivers that she won the point championship?
Yeah, I've
And we
seen that.
paid Mother Nature instead of the winners.
That's right. I think Terry Nicky Brewer would probably like us a lot. Probably.
Yeah. And I do want to mention here, I'm sure that everybody who listens to this probably saw it on Facebook, but we do have a racer shoe. If you're missing it, get a hold of somebody. I mean, we don't want you to have to buy new ones, I guess is probably the idea, If you're missing a shoe, let us know. We'll get it back to you. You know,
Joe, I did find some information out on that shoe. I could probably bring to light a little bit. So as of right now, our tech guy got a hold of the shoe today, and we were checking it out to see if he could come up with a plan onto it. And as looking at it, it looks like the tread on the bottom of the shoe has been grooved. So we're assuming that, depending on the class, it is an illegal shoe. You're not allowed to groove. So it is an illegal shoe depending on the class. So it may be, if a driver's out there and he knows his shoe's illegal, he may not come and claim
yeah, well, you know. Um, Well, I guess we're about set for this week. I do want to touch a little bit and just remind everybody next weekend, July 5th, I think it is. I really don't know.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So July 5th, we're off. We're off. You know, if that surprises you, you haven't been to Woodhall very much because I think as long as I've been going, they've had July 4th weekend off every year. And you know,
Yep. So
it's nice for the employees, I'd say. You know, I'm gonna take advantage of it, go down to Lancaster with my family and, you know, spend some time away from the racetrack. So it's,
it
it's
is. It is. And we do this every year. This way, by doing it at the beginning of the season, Woodall's always done this, and the plan has always been let the drivers spend the holiday with their family. And let's not make them come out to the races on a Saturday night because it's a point series and make them have to run. Let's give them the week off and they can plan their vacations or just plan spending time with their family. So that's
right.
great. Now
And
me on the other hand, Joe, I think I'm going to take the weekend and I'm going to head to Port Royal for the weekend, I believe.
is
So
that what you're gonna do?
I think I'm going to go watch some racing down to Port
Yeah.
Royal.
I
Yep.
I got I'm all signed up for a demolition derby down by Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So I'm gonna
Oh, that's
go
great.
I'm gonna go run in there just to, you know, I kind of got to find my spots here with working every Saturday night, you know. I don't have a lot of free weekends to run. So that
Right.
weekend I always make sure I get to one of them, and I've got some unfinished business at this place. So last time
There you go.
it's about a 4 hour drive from my house to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And last time I got down there, we got the car unloaded, got through tech, got everything ready to go, hopped in the car, ready to pull out onto the track for the Derby, and the starter went.
Oh, geez.
So then I got pulled back to the truck. We winched it up, went home 4 hours, 4 hours and
Yes.
back home. So
It sounds like the place definitely owes you then.
at least just to let me go, you know, at least just to try the track.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
So
For
then
sure.
when we come back, that's July 12th. That's going to be a regular show with the Joe Wilcox Performance Automatic Street Stocks. And I believe we're going to add the Southern Tier Custom Rush Crate Late
Yes.
Model King of the Bull Ring, correct?
Yes, I believe so. I think we're going to make that announcement. Yeah. But yeah, I believe that's going to be the makeup for the King of the Bull Ring late models. And it's also the King of the Ring street stocks that night, too.
Yep.
So, yeah, it'll be a double header. You definitely don't want to miss that one.
And they are both $400 to win. So all these Rush guys, I looked personally, and you all have the night off. You're going to run State Line, I believe it is, the next night. But, you know, if you want to come to Woodhall, try to make some a quick $400. That's probably the I'd say the easiest way you're ever going to win $400. You know, run one on
Yes.
one. I've been trying to do a little sweet talking to Austin Allen, see how that goes.
Yeah, I think he's going to come and try to do it. So just remember that $400 is coming out of my pocket that night. So, so Austin Allen would love to take that money out of my pocket. I'm
That's
sure.
right. That's right. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, yeah. I might have to go try to buy a late model now. Try to take your four
There you
hundred
go.
bucks.
There you go. Yep.
I don't think anybody wants to see that,
Right. Yeah. No, me neither. Absolutely. Nobody wants
especially the
to
other
see me.
drivers.
Right. Yep. Yep. For sure. It was,
Uh,
they say all you have to do in this King of the Ring is put one good lap together. That's all you got to do for the King of the Ring. But I'd be lucky if I could put a quarter of a lap together good. So I'm
I,
better off just watching.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd be pretty lucky if I'm not spinning through the infield by the time I get to the flag stand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Um, so July 19th, that would be the following week, and this is our Christmas in July bike giveaway. Just gonna say it now, drivers, I don't know, sponsors, fans. If you guys want to donate a bike, get a hold of somebody. We can make it happen. I believe Joe and Gene are doing stockings. Is it? If you want to fill a stocking, there's a bunch of ways you could help.
There is. And I told the drivers in the drivers meeting that on Saturday night that I'm going to kick it up a little bit and I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say that I want to see which class at Woodall Raceway can donate the most bicycles. I want to see who's got it. And so far, I know that Brandon Conklin has stepped up and bought two bikes for the hobby stock class. He's bought two, so I'm waiting to see what the other classes can they compete with the hobby stocks. I don't know. I don't know if they can, but let's hope.
Well,
And remember, these. Go ahead, Joe.
I think I heard that the Harrington camp might have got a couple too, so it might be
Oh, really?
that
Good.
might be a photo finish.
There we go. Absolutely. And remember, this is for a great cause. All them little kids in that stand, to see the look on their face when they get their bicycle. And again, every bicycle has a little stocking on it. And if you purchase a bicycle from the track, you get a stocking. They will give you the stocking. You can put anything in that stocking you want, whether it be an autographed card. It could be just a picture. It could be a T-shirt, a hat, anything you want from your race team or your business. This is a great way for some of these businesses to get a little advertisement too and help a little kid out. And like I said, it's for a great cause. Let's see these little kids go home with a bicycle. Really.
Yeah, right. And you know, some people can't afford bikes either, you know, so
Yep.
I'd like to see everybody get a bike, you know. So
Yep.
let's have
I,
some.
you know, I
I'd like to have so many bikes. We're trying to figure out what we're gonna do with them.
right. Again this week for the second week in a row, Joe. I don't know if you've noticed this. I went and talked to Jean in the booth and asked her if anybody has donated a bicycle for me yet, and nobody has. So if there's anybody that wants to do that too, I'm still waiting. I'm looking for one with a motor on it though, because I'm not very good at pedaling.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I don't know. I don't know if you need that either. I've rode with you in your truck. I don't know if you need a bike with a motor. But anyway, moving on. Then we're gonna wrap up the month of July with the ESS Sprint Tour, and that's the IMCA's next appearance in the Sean Elias Memorial. I'm just gonna throw this out there. I believe Jake Maynard is trying to find sponsor money, whatever, for that race. I know Sean Elias was. Um, it was a little bit before my time, Terry. You might be able to know more than me, but he was big in the Woodhull area. Um,
Yep.
and if you know, just if you want to get, if you want to be a part of that, you know, it's these IMCA guys, they don't really ever race for a ton of money either. And if you want to try to help them out, all in memory of Sean Lias, you can get a hold of me or Terry. I'm sure either one of us could get you in contact with Jake and get you where you need to go with that if you want to be involved with that.
Yes, for sure. I'm pretty sure. I believe they've secured a sponsor for the
Okay.
race, but I think they're looking for some sponsors for some contingency stuff, and I think they got a couple other things up their sleeve that they want to pull out. That's going to be a surprise. But they're trying to secure some sponsorship money for that also. So, yeah, if you're a small business and you want to jump on board, it's a new class, new beginnings. That they could definitely use the help, and I think you're going to like what they're coming up with. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and it goes to the drivers, you know, Jake's and the same thing with Joe and Gene. They're trying to sell their stuff for the Woodhull 100. They're not the kind of people that are going to pocket the money. You know, all the money's going to go back to the drivers, and you know that's kind of all you want. You know, so if you're a business, you want to hop in, you could do that. If you want to sponsor the Woodhull 100, I know they have three tiers. Joe and Gene do for that. You could get a hold of them as well. We'd be happy to put you in contact with them if you need to. Um, Anything
Joe,
else?
have you noticed the amount of yard signs that are getting up that are going along the fence down there?
I
It's
have.
incredible. It's incredible the business that has stepped up already. Again, that's going to be one heck of a race by the time it comes around.
That's what I said to Mick Seeley. I said, you know, how incredible is it that, you know, Joe's going out of his way doing all this work. You guys got all this sponsorship that's in June, you know, for a September race. That's pretty incredible.
Yep,
And, you know, the street stock guys, they don't get to go 100 laps very much, so
yep, it
it's a
is.
cool deal for them. Oh, and I do want to remember mention too that Sean Lias Memorial on July 26th, ESS Sprint Night. The crate sportsmen are off that night, so just I don't want any sportsman guys pulling in and paying to come in, and then we're not running your class. So you know, if you haven't marked it on your calendar already, um, I guess Kenny, you could take Shannon out for dinner, or knowing them, they can come to the races.
Right. I'm sure you'll see them at the races. They don't miss too many
Actually, I'm going to throw it
weeks.
out here now. You know what, Kenny? If you want to come in the announcer's booth that night, feel free. We could make room for you. You did a great job last time. If you know what, any Crate Sportsman guys, if you guys want to hop in the booth, feel free. I'll have an open invitation. You can kind of give some insight on what's happening with the cars. So I'll throw that out there. That's a fun thing to do if you're going to be there anyway.
That's right. Yep.
Well,
Yep. And
Terry,
I want to throw something out there too, Joe. Still, that people are calling on this September 12th and 13th. Our sprint car race is coming in. Again, drivers are still calling, asking questions about it, and I'm pretty confident that we're looking at 50 some sprint cars for that 2 day show.
mhm.
I've already got it marked on my calendar that I'll be there. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be a show that you're not going to want to miss if you're a sprint car. Like if you like sprint cars, there are going to be a ton of them here.
Yeah, and they put on a great show. Um, that's going to be with the Mike Emhoff ordeal. He does a great job. I would say he's probably the guy for the sprint cars in our area. I know he
Yes,
took
he
a
is
step back
definitely.
from the 360, and now he's just focusing on his 305 ordeal, and he's got some big plans, and that's one of them. September 12th and 13th at Woodhall. Um, that's a cool deal. I believe they have a full show Saturday, Friday, for
Yes.
just regular pay, and then they're gonna come back and have a full show the next night. That's gonna be 4,000 to win. With we were talking. I wish I could remember, but just contingencies on everything.
Oh, there is.
About
Absolutely.
everything you could think of. If you're a 305 guy, you ought to be salivating. If you're a fan, you should be too, because Woodhall is I think it's made for those 305s. They're not as big. They got room. And I just think it's the perfect track for them. And for 4,000 to win, like Terry said, um, we should be
Yep.
looking at a very, very healthy car count just with local
Even
guys.
if you're not a, yeah, even if you're not a sprint car guy, when was the last time you went to Woodall to the races and seen a B or even a C main, in any
Mhm.
class? And right now we're making plans for that to happen. So,
Right.
um, you know, it, let's hope for some good weather. And I think if we do, you're going to see some awesome racing them 2 days. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And I think we got other stuff planned, right? Like we got so I think the
Oh,
King Bop Allison Pierce Dirty 30, that's on the Saturday. I think the Crate
nope,
Sport
that's on Friday.
Friday.
That's on
Okay.
Friday this year. Yep. And we have the Rush Southern Tier Custom Rush late models are going to be running topless that night. If you've
Yep, the
never seen
cars.
that, that's a pretty cool thing to see too.
Right. The car is not the driver, so nobody has to worry
Yes,
about Austin Allen.
right. You'll see you'll see a lot of race cars, late models out there with no roofs on them, and
Yeah, that's something
boy,
different.
that's always fun to watch.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's something different for them. They get to do some other stuff. I'm not exactly sure what else we have. I could probably pull up the schedule quick if you want to, try to take. I
that
would recommend if you're going to take the day off of work, take it off the Wednesday in August and take it off September 12th. If you're just your regular guy. And oh, I'll tell you another thing that we got showing up here on that weekend. Did you remember what we got on that Saturday?
I do I do I there's been some talk about that in my shop in the last week too. Yes.
That would be the powder puff.
Yep, we have the powder puff. That's last year's last year's got rained out, I believe, correct? We
Yes.
didn't and we couldn't get it in. It was at the end of the year. We ran out of weeks to get it in. And in the off season, Joe, we sat at the table that night and said, we got to bring that back. Everybody loved it. We loved it. We got to do it again. Let's make it happen. It
Mhm.
was tough to find a spot in the schedule for it, but we found one, and yeah, that should be very exciting. It should be to see some of these wives and daughters and sisters of the car owners jump in their car and bring it out and race it. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Do you think maybe I could sneak in there? Or do you have to be a female to run the powder puff?
Joe, Joe, I know it's late in the show, but do I have to make a comment about your hair? I mean,
See, I
I
already
think
fit in.
if it's hanging out the bottom of the helmet, nobody's ever going to know.
Well, I'm just gonna throw it out there that Lori, if she runs, she's gonna beat me anyway. I mean, it's not gonna matter if I'm out there. she'll beat me anyway, so I don't know if it really matters.
Right, right. Yep.
Well, Terry, I guess that we talked about the month of July, what we got coming up this past weekend. You got anything else for us, or we
I
about
don't.
ready to wrap this thing up?
I think that about covers it. I'm going back and I'm going to check on this shoe thing again. Keep an eye on that.
Yeah, we
See
better.
if anybody stepped up.
We better. Hey, do you think that nobody will look and somebody will get really upset if they go somewhere else next weekend when we're off and they get there and they have one shoe?
Well, yeah, I would think because I don't believe there's any tracks around where you're allowed to race with just one shoe.
No, I don't think
I
so
think
either.
I
And I
can't
think
think
they
of
are
any.
mandatory, right? Shoes.
They are. They are. That's a new rule that's in there this year. Racing shoes are mandatory.
Yeah. Is that everywhere or just you got some places going Flintstone style or what are we doing here?
I don't know of any other tracks. I think everybody, everybody pretty much has. You have to have racing shoes nowadays,
Yeah.
this day and age.
Well, I'm sure Brandon Morseman's glad he had him on. So
Yeah, no, definitely. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what his toes would have looked like if he didn't have shoes on?
yeah, so when I first started running derbies, I was running over at the Bath Fair and I had a big old V8 and the radiator blew off of me and I was wearing a t-shirt and it got covered in hot water and I'll tell you from this point on, I don't care how hot it is, I've at least got a sweatshirt on.
Yep,
So
I'm sure. Yep.
because I don't want that again. So, and actually, I could probably even go a little farther if I wanted to and find a race suit. But for some
Should
reason,
we?
the Derby crowd they don't really make it mandatory. So some of us, I guess, are
Right.
I don't
Maybe we should put up ask for some donations, and we'll get you a race suit.
know.
Or maybe we could find a race driver that has a race suit that they want to get rid of. They might even just donate it to you.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been in talks with Austin Allen, so maybe I'll just have to make a purchase instead of borrowing.
There you go.
Because
There you go.
cause unless something falls through, I guess the plan is that I might be hot lapping Kyle Leach, a sportsman, after the race at the end of the year. So
There you go. Then we better get you a driver.
yeah,
Then
yeah,
we'll get you a driver's suit. And if nobody claims this shoe, you could even wear that night.
nice. Then I only need one per. Do you know if it's a left or a right?
I don't know. I'm
Hmm.
not really sure. I guess I'll have to go
Okay.
and check on
Well,
that.
you know what? Then maybe somebody else will leave a different kind of shoe there, and then I'll have a matching pair.
Well, they should. If they've only got one shoe, they're going to have to go buy new ones. They might just well bring the other one
Yeah,
back
right.
later.
You might as well just let me have it, right? I mean, that seems
Right.
fair to me.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
All
Yep.
right, Terry. Well, I do want to remind everybody before we hop off here to please like and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Uh, Rate us 5 stars too. If you listen to just the audio version, download it on download it as well. Don't just hit play. Give it a download. That helps with the numbers. I want to give a big shout out to BH Log Hauling, TP's Concrete, as they were this weekend's presenting sponsors. Also, want to give one more shout out to iPyro, Westfield, Pennsylvania, for their firework display. Great job as always, but we want to give them one more shout out. So, Terry, thank you very much. I appreciate you hopping on with me here tonight.
Thank you, Joe. It's always a pleasure.